Hey folks, this is the rock and roll king, Robert R. McFarland talking to you. Hey, I just want to make this video. Some people might be wondering, why do I call myself the rock and roll king? And some people might be wondering, hey, I thought Elvis Presley was the king of rock and roll. You can't be the king. Well, let me clarify something for you. Elvis Presley is the king of rock and roll. Always was, always will be. I kind of flipped the name around a little bit. I'm the king of rock and roll presently. And how I came up with that, one day I was watching videos, and I've written a lot of songs. I've always tried to put a CD out, and I think my music is just as good as a lot of the music out there, if not better. But again, the people are the ones that make that decision. Everybody as an artist can say, hey, I wrote this great song, it's just as good or better than everything out there. But I really truly believe my stuff is as good or better than most stuff out there today. And I think my stuff rivals some of the classic rock stuff, which I'm very proud of. But one day I was thinking about, hey, I've got to get this thing going. I've been saying this for years and years. And it's been a lifelong dream of mine to do a CD of all original material. But to hook up with people, depend on people, and trying to get everybody to put their money together to put a CD out is next to impossible. Okay, folks? So for years I've been dreaming of this. And one day I was on YouTube watching videos of some of the artists out there that people really like. And I'm thinking, dude, my stuff is as good as this. So what I did, I picked up the guitar, and this is actually my rock and roll machine. This is on the cover of my CD, and I'll tell you a little bit about it in a second. I picked up my guitar, my rock and roll machine, and I came up with this riff, It's like, I just was coming up with this riff, and I was like, dude, I'm the rock and roll king tonight. Here in my house, I'm the rock and roll king. I believe in this. I believe in my music. I'm the rock and roll king. And that just kept, And it just kept coming. And then I said, I came with the verse, I'm the rock and roll king tonight. And I wrote that song that day saying, hey, my stuff is just as good as the stuff out there. But for me to do everything on my own, I had to become the rock and roll king. I had to believe that I was the rock and roll king. Am I the best guitarist? No. Am I the best songwriter? The verdict's still out there. We'll see. Am I the best singer? By no means, no. I mean, I'm not that good of a singer. I play guitar. I was going to play bass, maybe even try to learn how to play drums. But I was thinking, let's go in the studio and surround myself by the best players. I was still going to sing, still going to play all the lead guitars. Well, as the thing progressed, I was like, how about getting the best players? I'm still the rock and roll king. I still believe that with that mindset. That's what's got me this far. That will see through to the end of the project. But I went ahead and realized my vocals are not going to do these songs justice. Went out and got two great singers, Brad Williams and Renee Paul, and gave them, the outline of the song, and they put their own stamp on it. And that was a humbling experience for me, giving up that control. But if you hear it, it's so much worth it. And to see other people singing their hearts and soul out, then also saying, hey, let me do better, I can do better. That was truly humbling for me, and it makes the project so much better. So, next was the guitar solos. I was going to play all the guitars on the album. I called up my buddy Derek Russo. I said, hey, Derek, I got this song, Rock and Roll King, and a couple other songs. Would you like to play solo on it? I don't know if I can do these songs justice. So he actually sent me a video through the phone of Rock and Roll King. I was like, oh, this is my theme song. I've got to play this song. And I talked to our producer, and Joe goes, you really should play on that. That's your theme song. This is your CD. You'll do great. We'll get it done. You'll be awesome. But I was getting a little nervous. I was like, my lead techniques are decent, but they're limited because I don't really consider myself a lead player. I'm more of a rhythm player. So I told him, I said, hey, I got this great guitarist, Derek Russo. Let's have him come in and do a couple solos, see what happens. So he came in, did Rock and Roll King. So in essence, when Brad sung it, I let Brad be the rock and roll king when he was singing it. When Derek played the solo, he was the rock and roll king when he was doing the solo. But at the end of the day, I'm still the rock and roll king. But I gave that up to them, put their stamp on it, and it made it so much better. So I had another friend, Marty Hayes, again, a great guitarist. I said, hey, I'm going to bring him in. I can't do justice on some of these songs. We brought him in. and Marty did a phenomenal job. I think he played solos on close to 10 songs, I believe. Then I wanted to have a couple songs with slide in it. So Joe brought in Steve Theotto, and he did a slide solo on Peter Pan Peanut Butter Jam and My Midnight, and then also played slide on Born to Rock. Again, I gave that control up because I'm not a slide player. I could attempt to play slide, probably did a decent job, but Steve knew exactly what to do, and Joe knew exactly what he wanted to hear on those songs. So again, by humbling myself, but still sticking with the belief, hey, at the end of the day, and even Joe told me, hey, you're still the rock and roll king. You got to believe that. And that's what I believed. So you might say, on one hand, calling myself the rock and roll king might be kind of egotistical. And I wouldn't argue with you. But for me to complete this project, I had to become the rock and roll king. I started calling myself the rock and roll king. And what's interesting is that some of my friends are calling me the rock and roll king and haven't even heard the CD yet. Why? Because they know how passionate I am about music. And I would never put anything out with my name on it that wasn't 100% pure and 100% the best of my abilities that could be done. And so without them hearing the full project, some of my friends are calling me the rock and roll king, which is humbling again for me. And they might not even know it till they see this video, but I had to become the rock and roll king in my mind to put this CD out. I got tired of waiting for people. I got tired of people, trying to write originals or co-write with me. There's not enough time. Then always there's something to do with money. I had to take out a couple loans, and I borrowed some money from my brother and my mom. So, I went pretty deep on this project, but I believed in it so much that I think it's worth it. And, my goal is to comp that money back to pay off all the stuff that I borrowed, but also have money to do another one. So with the rock and roll king mindset I was going, I had about 15 songs, but then I decided to do a double. So I'd have to go back and see when I wrote the song, but I had a song called Rock and Roll Machine. I might have wrote it just for this CD. I can't remember. I'd have to look back. But there was 5 songs that I added. I had 16 songs, so I added 5 songs, which was 21. Then I had, my dog's name is Rusty. I was just going to do for my YouTube channel, but I decided to include that also. So I ended up with 22 songs. But this was the Rock and Roll Machine. And again, this is on the cover of my CD. And so again, the Rock and Roll King had to have a battle axe. And this is the Rock and Roll Machine. This is my favorite guitar of mine. Anytime I use a pickup guitar or electric guitar, this is it. So I nicknamed this the Rock and Roll Machine. Again, on the album cover, and I have a song named the Rock and Roll Machine. So I became, and I believed that I was the rock and roll king. Then I had my rock and roll machine. So with that belief, I stuck with my guns. Again, I had two of the best producers I could have. Jack Campitelli. I would have finished with him, but he moved to Kentucky, or Tennessee, excuse me. But I ended up with Joe Veers, and I wanted to work with Joe Veers since the late 90s. So destiny had its path back to Joe. So with Joe, Jack, we got the best players we could get. I added a few of my players. It was almost like playing cards. Somebody would throw, okay, here's a drummer, Sammy Hoff, boom. And then I'd come back, okay, here's Derek Russo, boom. And they'd say, okay, here's Kevin Ashman on organ, boom. I said, okay, here's Marty Hayes on guitar, boom. They said, well, here's Steve Theotto on slide, boom. I'd say, well, here's Renee Holm on vocals, boom. They would say, here's Brad Williams on vocals, boom. And we just kept, and I said, well, here, and I think Joe said, here's Danny Harness, boom. So he was throwing Danny Harness on there. So I said, well, here's Mike Mapes, boom, on bass guitar. So it was like we was trumping each other just to make the project better. But folks, that is how I became the rock and roll king. That's why I call myself the rock and roll king. I will be the rock and roll king, even if it's in my own mind, until the day I die. That's the belief that you need to complete any dream you have. You have to believe that you're the best. If you're not the best, you have to surround yourself by the best. Then you will become the best. You start telling people that you're the rock and roll king or whatever, people will start to believe it if you can back it up. But again, I'm the rock and roll king, Robert R. McFarland. Just want to give you the backstory why I call myself the rock and roll king. I hope in time you'll believe it too. Thanks so much. It's all for one, one for all, and all for rock and roll.